In the Power Ghost universe, characters are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the writers, who illustrate their crimes, and the audience, who judge the offenders accordingly. This video series is dedicated to the latter. Hey, welcome back, guys. Of all the Power Ghost characters worthy of death, Effie is arguably in the Hall of Fame ranking of that list. As a former ally of Tariq, she was everything a Clyde could ask for in a Bonnie: smart, resourceful, and most importantly, treacherous. But that latter quality has come to define Effie, and not only her actions for Tariq, but in the many maneuvers she's taken against him. In this video, we'll assess the many crimes of Josefina Morales and decide on this day whether or not she's worthy of death. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my channel donors. If you'd like to be the next one, drop $1 on that Cash App for us. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Power. Here we go. Effie is first introduced to us in the Power universe way back in OG Power Season 6 and represents to a young Tariq his first entry into the game of love. Equally detached, introverted, and emotionally unavailable, she was drawn to Tariq, and their shared sentiments started a love affair like no other. Or should I say, a like affair. Because although Effie was the first woman that Tariq would open up to, that didn't discount him when it was time to hit the button. And you all know what button I'm referring to. The button of disrespect. One that requires me placing my interests before yours. At Choke, Tariq would establish a drug network and thought he had trust within that network with the budding love of his life and his partner in crime, Brady. But as things began to tighten up for Effie in the background, other things began to loosen up. And primarily, this was her loyalty to Tariq. Because you see, Effie moves by what Roscoe Jenkins referred to as the team of me. Her only concern was looking out for number one. And you can never trust an individual who operates on such a paradigm. Once her personal situation began to be obstructed by Tariq's profit, the only way for her to maintain was to subvert him at all costs. And this would represent the very first sin that she committed against the young Tariq, as it was Effie who ratted him out in order to get him expelled, placing him in a dangerous situation where he was forced to hustle on his own and reestablish his operation on the pavement as opposed to the comfort of his university. As hurtful as this lesson came to be for Tariq, it was a necessary one that he needed to take heed to, one that he would transgress in his own series once Effie came back on the scene, at least as the series went on. Because in the initial phases of Power Ghost, Tariq wisely rebuked Effie, keeping her at a nice Heisman player arm's length while he conducted his affairs on his own campus. In fact, in his own way, he got back at Effie by taking product off her hand and leaving her without compensation in the other. But as things went on with Tariq personally, and allies thinned out with each passing episode, Tariq found a renewed romance and solace within Effie, the original Black Cat to his Peter Parker. Effie would pop into Stansfield and not only help reinvigorate Tariq's business when he needed her the most, being extorted by 2-Bit at the time, but she also reignited his passion, as those who introduce us to our first taste of the game so often do. And this was Effie's greatest contribution to the righteous portion of Tariq's experience with her. She was an excellent businesswoman, a hustler of the highest order, and she was Tariq's one true spiritual love, the easiest choice of his 3-card Monty that he played with his various love interests throughout his individual journey. But as we well know, and as the old saying goes, the same thing that makes you laugh will make you cry. And opposites attract for a reason, because being with someone who is the direct parallel of yourself has its consequences in the negative when things go awry. And the fatal mistake that Tariq made was to disavow what he previously understood about Effie's character, personality, and her very nature. And that was this: Effie is a very unstable creature. I ain't gonna say the B word, I'm gonna say unstable creature. And unfortunately, her very experiences up to this point demanded for it to be this way, as Effie was the victim of one of the most damaging, if not the most damaging thing that can happen to a child. And that imposition of evil placed upon her a distrustful nature of everyone she would come in contact with from here on out. And unfortunately, Tariq was no exception to this phenomenon. Not to make Effie's case too much, because I am about to get into her ash, but to just provide further context, Effie relied solely upon herself because that's the only person she really could trust throughout her lifetime. And if we do the knowledge from the things that she's expressed to us throughout this series, one can easily draw such a conclusion, as perverted as it may be. And so, whenever Effie found herself in a jam, it was her benefit first and your detriment absolutely. Effie Effie was the star of her own show, and the rest of y'all was just merely featured. In fact, if it was up to Effie, she would rename the show from Power Book 2 Ghost to Effie featuring you niggas, because that's most certainly how she moved. This diabolical philosophy was also coupled with another major negative within her psyche, a quality that she shared with someone that she later came to fully erode her trust in Tariq with, and that was jealousy, envy, and spitefulness. The greatest example that we have of this was her attempted murder of Lauren, Tariq's former girlfriend, and the closest representation of legitimacy that our series lead would have, similar to his father's one true love, Angela Valdez. Although the two could never be together because one was trapped under the tenets of the underworld and the other was striving for more of a professional, square-dealing life. But Effie would grow to secretly hate Lauren, not only for who she was or what she represented, but most importantly, what she tried to take from her in the form of Tariq. You see, to Effie, Tariq wasn't merely someone who was tickling her fancy. Tariq was the only man that she had come to find comfort and trust in, since that very trust was eradicated by those who it should have been protected by. And Lauren was a direct threat to this reality. She had no business meddling with someone like Tariq, because to Effie, Tariq belonged to her. They weren't merely boyfriend and girlfriend, but as they stated on many occasions throughout the series, they were family. And so long as Lauren lived, Effie's position would be in peril. Now sure, she matched these feelings under the fact that Lauren snitched, quote unquote, wearing a wire during the middle of season 2 and being manipulated and ultimately tricked into getting evidence against Tariq. But in assessing Lauren this way, Effie truly was being unfair because she was holding a civilian to non-civilian rules. When we talk about snitching, we're speaking on a street code dynamic, primarily a street code dynamic that is, a standard that other street people are held accountable to. But Lauren was never a street person, and so the very fact that she was finessed into going against Tariq was never considered by someone like Effie. All Effie really needed was a reason. And so she began to put things in place in order to rid the power universe of Lauren once and for all. And this would be her first step towards her second, and in this commentator's opinion, most cardinal sin against Tariq. And that was with the romantic affair she held with his open enemy, Kane Tejada. Now, as I recount this story, I can feel the spirit of pettiness moving strongly within me, trying to inspire me to say all kind of words and call her all type of oddities. But in this respect, I'll just say this. Effie was moving like a common Jezebel when she decided to do such a thing to Tariq. And it's not only that she decided to do that, but it's when she decided to do it. Because as I previously stated, part of her personality makeup is jealousy, envy, and spitefulness. And in sleeping with Kane, she was moving in the spirit of spitefulness against Tariq. Because Tariq inevitably discovered the part she had played in Lauren's disappearance. And once it all came together, there was only one outcome. And that would be Tariq having to walk away from Effie. But even in having to do this, reconciliation wasn't necessarily off the table. In time, of course. But it isn't in this commentator's opinion that Tariq wouldn't have forgiven her for her transgressions against Lauren, as Tariq would have reasonably surmised that him and Lauren could never be an idol, and that the love he shared with her only represented a taste of the legitimate lifestyle that he could one day live if he so chose. That sin, as great as it was, wasn't enough to take off redemption for Effie. But quite frankly, Effie fucking around with Kane destroyed any possibility of reconciliation. Because as we live and breathe on this day, Tariq and Kane are still at war with one another for reasons that I previously outlined in Kane's own trial. But as my wise mother used to tell me, son, hurt people hurt people. And Effie's chosen form of hurt cut deeper than any sword or any blade could ever cut someone, because she just didn't pierce his heart when she did what she did to him. But that was a soul-hollowing experience. And you can see it all on Tariq's face when he finally completed his mission of freeing Effie from prison in order to subsequently free all of them from federal surveillance. You saw how Effie was, trying to warm back up to her man, trying to spin the block, as they say. And what did Tariq do? Knowing full well that she just cemented her status and position in his life. And this time, and hopefully for times to come, he won't go back on what he truly knows. And that is this. Effie is dangerous. She's subversive. She's treacherous. And she will do anything and everything to protect herself at the expense of everyone else. And you can't do business with someone like that. You definitely can't fall in love with someone like that. Hell, you can't even be friendly to a person like that. This is someone who embodies the term of narcissism at its highest order. And if we could define Effie in just one word, it would be this: scandalous. Someone unworthy of the vulnerability displayed by someone like Tariq, who's naturally distrusting based on his own set of experiences. Even in the new images and promo teasers, you see Effie trying to reignite that flame with Tariq, and hopefully he holds frame, because if she did it to him once, you better believe she'd do it to him again. And just as much as she's trying to get Tariq back in those same teaser images, she's also still cavorting with his open enemy. And although that first cut is the deepest, that second cut could kill you. But with all that being said, what are your thoughts on Effie? And based on what's been outlined here, will she survive Power's final season, or have her actions deemed her worthy of death? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.